If you are about my age or close to, you probably remember that movie called Project X, where a bunch of teenagers, or let's say young adults, were launching a party that completely became a monster, and like more than 500 people came into some part of California, I think around Los Angeles, and they just destroyed everything. And the police came and they could not even stop the party, and many things were broken, and the parents of that dude had to pay for all of it. Actually, it reminds me some great memories from university. And then you wonder why I did not graduate. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you about all of that is because this guy is actually for real. This thing really happened. I think it happened in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. And there was an interesting interview between this guy who launched the Monster Party and a journalist, and he was reframing most of the conversation basically. Some parts of it were okay, pretty childish, I know, but I would still want to break it down with some sleight of mouth explanation, because there are great things to learn from the way he was communicating then.
Coery, thanks for joining us. The only question that I can think to ask is, what were you thinking?
I wasn't really.
Did your parents say you could have a party?
No.
So
they didn't.
Why did you?
I don't know, it was just a get together with a couple of mates at first, and then we thought we might as well just have a bit of a party, and then it sort of just got out of hand, and yeah.
Well, 500 people turned up, the air wing of the police force, the dog squad, your neighbours' cars were being destroyed. What have your parents had to say, Coery?
I haven't really talked to them because every time they call I don't answer, because yeah, they probably try to kill me.
So that's a short-term strategy. You're going to have to talk to them eventually. What are you going to say?
Sorry.
Are you sorry?
Yeah, I am.
You don't sound very sorry.
But I can't be exactly blamed for everything that happened because it wasn't in the house, it was out in the street, and I didn't do it. Like, the police said, you stay inside so you don't get in trouble, so I did what he said, so...
So, okay, I know, a bit childish here, I admit. It's not in the house, it is in the street, it was in the streets. It is what we might refer to when she say what you did should equal, you should be sorry, you should be more sorry, you should feel sorry. This is always how we deconstruct language in sleight of mouth. We first enumerate how the belief is outlined as a cause and effect, which is always the case no matter which belief we talk about, we speak from, and the way he reframes that is with some sort of changing the frame size by appealing to another more specific detail, or just another detail in the context, which is it was not in the house, it was in the streets, which I agree is a bit childish. It is even maybe really childish to answer like that, but the point is not the specific words, it is which metaframe does that come from. Because basically the metaframe this comes from is the metaframe of I just don't care. I don't care. And this is a very important message to remember in life in general. If you just did not care as much about what people think of you, about what you should do, about what society said you should behave, how you should do that. If you didn't care as much, how much more freedom would you fucking get in your life right now? How many more things would you allow yourself to do that you don't do out of fear? What people are gonna think of me, or are gonna think of what I'm gonna do? If you just didn't care. Just for that perspective alone, I think it is a brilliant video to break down, because that attitude, maybe not about things where you would hurt others like he did, but things in general in life, that is a great perspective to have.
They might be fined $20,000. Are you going to try and pay that for them?
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair they'll be fined it, because what happened, it was my party, but it could have just been any random person walking in the street doing it. What happens all the time.
So here the belief she comes from is, okay, all the damage you caused means you are going to pay. Okay, that could be a normal thing to ask for in that scenario. In that case, when somebody has broken things, I think it is normal to ask to that person to repair and pay. And again, it is a pretty childish answer, but interesting. It is not fair. I'm gonna pay, but it is not fair because it could have been anybody else. What we come down to here is a model of the world. In his model of the world, which he is the master of in this conversation, because she can't make him step down on his judgment, on the value he sees about himself. She can't make him step down. He's owning the frame here. He's showing the value he's maintaining the value he sees in himself with this model of the world. It is not fair. Any kind of judgment of value is appealing to your model of the world. What do you think is right and what do you think is wrong? And when somebody is trying to impose on you that this thing is wrong, you should do this, maybe just question them. According to whom? It is bad. According to whom? Who said it was bad? You? But who are you? Are you God? Are you a person of higher authority? Just because you have a degree, does that mean you know everything? I don't think so. So those reframes are pretty interesting to use in your conversations when people are trying to control you or trying to make you admit things you are not even entitled for, or that they try to make you fit into their model of the world. And in that case, question, do you really want to be part of their model of the world? Maybe you want, but maybe you don't want. And if you don't want, it is your responsibility to reframe what they said.
Your parents were out of town, you put out the invitation, you started it. Why don't you make a grown-up decision now and accept responsibility, take off those glasses and apologise to everybody that you frightened, to the police who were forced to retreat and whose cars have been damaged, and to the community who've had to pay for this? Take off your glasses and apologise to us.
I'll say sorry, but I'm not taking off my glasses.
Why not?
Because they're famous.
Right here, he's, I would say, just being evasive. I was waiting for a bit more cleverness coming from him considering the other answers in this interview. So let's switch to the next one.
Coery, we've got to wrap this up, but what would you say to other kids who were thinking of partying when their parents are out of town?
Get me to do it for you.
Get you to do it for you, not don't do it.
Nah, get me to do it for you. Best party ever so far. That's what everyone's been saying, so...
And that one, on this one, hands down, this one is brilliant. I think it is such a great reply. So basically, again, she's coming from the damage you caused means you should tell people to never do that again. Well, no, he's shifting that into a consequence pattern. Well, what it means, lady, what it means is that people should hire me for doing it for them. I think that is such a great reframe when you want people to shut down and stop giving you orders or stop trying to make you fit into their model of the world. Just tell them, I'm definitely not going to stop. I'm doing whatever I want, and if you don't like it, just leave. That is a great reframe. I'm not implying that he shouldn't be responsible, that he should maintain this attitude for everything in life. I'm not saying that in any way. It is just, I think, an interesting attitude to incorporate to some extent, a bit more into your life. Whenever people try to lecture you on what you should do, what you shouldn't do, sometimes, just tell them, yeah, no, F you, I don't want to obey your orders, I don't even care. Coming back to his made of frame, why would I even care? I just don't care. It's cool, I like it, let's do it. That's all. The lesson I think is great it is a message of obey more to your instincts, sometimes to what drives you, because always obeying what the social image or like what social media or society tells you or school tells you, you should do that because it is the right thing to do, you should raise a family before 30 years. Do you even want it? Honestly, if nobody had been around you, what would be your influence, your main source of influence? Would you even want that, or would you even not care about it in any way?
Well, we've got to go, but I suggest you go away and take a good long hard look at yourself.
I have. Everyone has. They love it.
And this last one, for once, I would just step out of this model and extrapolate or like enlarge it to some extent, because there could be different ways of explaining what he just said according to sleight of mouth. I would just enlarge the model for once and make that a double consequence. Because technically she has been implying a consequence, so you should take a good look on yourself from now, or like you should reflect on yourself, which presupposes something that he will have to do in the future. What he's doing is going double consequence. I already have, it's done. Technically it might just refer to, okay, intention, pattern, he went to the past, but I would like to make that into a double consequence, so it is kind of enlarging the original sleight of mouth model, just a little bit, to elaborate on the idea that, okay, you think you have all the answers about my life, well, the things you would like me to do, I have done them already, and I don't even want to do them. I want to put a lot of emphasis on this one because I have used that a lot of times in my life when people were still feeling that like they could lecture me on which life decisions I should take or should not take, and I was using that. But in the end, it is the best way I found to just cut short to the conversation. Like very specific example, there was a person in my life I got rid of years ago, and another person who knew both of us said, oh no, you should really keep that person in your life. Basically, I'm simplifying the whole story. You should keep that person in your life, telling me that. But just, okay, Matteo, just take the time, reflect on it, and you will have the right answer later. And that's something to never do with me. If I have not been asking for your opinion, first of all, don't share it. And if you really want to share it, at least ask me for permission first. Tell me, can I tell you my opinion? In which case, I will listen. If you have a suggestion, I will listen. But you giving me a lecture on what I should do, whereas I did not even ask for your opinion, that's not something I'm tolerating at all in my life. And all the people who used to allow themselves to do that with me are out by now. So in that specific case, I said, oh yeah, I have reflected on it very thoroughly, very deeply. I know why I don't need that person in my life anymore. That is specifically the words I replied to that person in that context back in the day. I think it was 2 years ago, 1 year and a half. And the person was like, okay. Because when you use a double consequence like that, there is nothing else they can say. What are they going to do? They're going to give another suggestion for something else you need to do in your future? Same thing. Oh yeah, but you should read that book. Oh yeah, I have read many books like this one. I still think the same. Any proposition? And you can, if you want to play that game with me, for example, we can play that for hours. I'm really patient. At the end, I will tell you, for this time you have used trying to lecture me, for that alone you're out of my life, that's done. But I have taken the time to explain to you why your opinion don't fucking care unless you have been asking me for permission to share it first. I'm not saying opinion in general, but opinion about my life decisions, that's not in your control, that's me who decides. So it is coming back to this metaphor that I like from this guy, of I just don't care. Like if you were caring much less what people think of you, what the consequences might be, of course when you come from that headspace, sometimes there will be negative consequences and you will have to pay, whether financially or metaphorically, you will have to pay back something you have done. I have certainly made many mistakes where I had to pay back, but that's fine. I'm still way better where I am right now because of those mistakes than if I had never done anything wrong, and if I had just stayed passive about life for 10 years, I would be a piece of shit right now. So I'm way better having went into really bad situations and having grown out of it, even if it hurt many times. But at least it is moving forward. It is always better to take action than to just stay passive and say, okay, people will take care of that for me. Not always. Sometimes people will take care of it for you, sometimes not. Sometimes it is you to take action. So on this one, it was just a childish thing. Okay, launching a party, yeah, that's nothing like a life or death matter. Even if I think some people were dead during that party. Anyway, but the headspace, the mind frame here is something to really take more into account, I think, in life, to at least make more conscious decisions for which path you want to follow and which path you don't want to follow. And sleight of mouth is a great tool for that, even just starting with your own thoughts. When you put limits on yourself, oh, I should not do that. Use a sleight of mouth on yourself, you're gonna figure out that many times where you think you should not do that, actually you can. Nobody's restricting you, and nobody's restricting you as much as you are restricting yourself. And nobody really cares about the consequences, in most cases, as much as you care about it. Or as much as you care about what people are going to think if you miss or fail at something. So it is really the conclusion here: do whatever the fuck you want, and download this document in the description called the 7 Steps to Master Sleight of Mouth. It is really aimed at shutting down the people you don't want to listen anymore, and to help also people who would have trouble getting unstuck based on some problems they have in their lives. If you want to help them open their mind to possibilities, it is definitely something of great value, and you can have it for free. It is down below in the description, first link, and I will see you soon in the next video on sleight of mouth or anything else.